I love the transfiguration scene in Matthew chapter 17 and the parallel with Moses in Exodus chapter 30, which I've been studying recently. The parallel is striking. But in the transfiguration scene in Matthew 17, in the presence of the overwhelming glory of God, Peter started talking. Well, listen to the story in Matthew 17. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And there he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I'll put up 3 shelters, 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." And while Peter was talking, God spoke. Verse 5, while he was still speaking, a bright cloud enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." God's voice interrupted Peter's with some encouragement to listen. I'm remembering today a beautiful moment I had with God when the thoughts of my mind were interrupted. I was walking down the hall toward the kitchen early in the morning when it happened. I heard the voice of my best friend, and I wondered who she'd be talking to that early in the morning. And then I realized that she was reading the Bible out loud. So I just stood in the silence for a moment, listening, blessed beyond measure, soaking in the beauty of it. It was a tiny glimpse of something like the mountain scene where Peter experienced the glory of God. When my best friend saw me, she smiled and explained that someone had said, "If you want to hear the audible voice of God, read the Bible out loud." What a blessing when our voices are in sync with God's, and that happens so wonderfully when we read the scriptures out loud. When I read the Bible using an audible voice, I feel the pleasure of God as I listen for his voice interrupting mine. So I pray that you hear some encouraging words from Jesus today, even if it's an interruption.